Hello, y'all. I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing, right? Doing my thing. So, welcome everybody. You see the thumbnail. This is about the money that they love to spend. The money that is always being spent on the behalf of the American people, right? We always seem to be spending money, or they used to take our money for granted, right? We're talking about one of the most massive and controversial immigration stories of our country. The federal government pushed to convert dozens and dozens of ordinary industrial warehouses scattered across the country into a sprawling, big, gigantic network of detention centers designed to hold tens of thousands of people, immigrants, as a part of some sweeping deportation effort. But here's the thing, because this isn't just about building walls or borders anymore. It's about a staggering $38 billion taxpayer funded machine that's already got people upset and mad and fighting, specifically in these small towns. Okay. Trying to figure out who is getting paid from these buildings. And the whole point is we got bad conditions in some of these buildings. Shocking reports of conditions inside these facilities that some are calling inhumane warehouses for humans. We're not just trying to skim the surface here. We're going to ask some questions. Where's all this money that's going, that is coming from? Where is the money? Who's profiting? Okay. Are we being overcharged for these buildings? Do they got to be converted? Who's cashing in behind the scenes? Okay. And Democrats are asking these questions, but everybody else is asking these questions too. If the stories of overcrowding, neglect, and despair are as bad as they sound, why has nobody stepped in to stop what's happening in these facilities? Whether you're one of those people who believe in immigration, tough on immigration laws, or against them, this expansion in these buildings should raise red flags about where's the accountability for all of this money. Because my understanding is a building may cost $200,000, but they're paying $500,000 for the building, which means they're buying at a record pace because they don't care. They have a slush fund. Okay. They have leaked documents, eyewitness accounts, on the ground reports. Why is the government spending $35 billion right now just to make sure that they get rid of people? Okay. So I put together questions, like 10 questions I had to ask. Why is the federal government planning to spend $35 billion expanding these detention facilities? Okay. It's not coming out of nowhere. It's tied directly to the new laws and clear policy shifts aimed at ramping up all of this deportation on a scale that we've never seen before. Back in July, Congress passed that big, beautiful bill, 2025, which unlocked nearly $15 billion every single year through 2029, specifically for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, to beef up their operations in detention. Okay. The plan is simple. This money is fueled a rapid build out of buildings to create like 100,000 detention beds by the end of 2026, by the end of this year. All this should handle all the arrests, the hires, is designed to support what the administration calls mass deportation, arrests and hires within this country. It's going to be like a underground railroad almost. Okay. Here's a direct article. from The Guardian this year. U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services expects to spend an estimated $38.3 billion on a plan to acquire warehouses across the country and retrofit them into new immigration detention centers with a capacity for tens of thousands of people. So instead of them slowing down, they're not slowing down. People haven't heard about Minnesota, but they're still doing the same thing that they're doing, except they're being a little bit more careful. Okay. All of this money came from the one big, beautiful bill so they could get all of these warehouses. Okay. Already going to Texas, Arizona, New Hampshire. Okay. It's going to be a permanent immigration enforcement and a pipeline from when you get, if you get arrested, like in, I don't know, New Illinois, it's going to be a pipeline from when you get down from every facility. From there on, you're going to go to different facilities and go out the gate and go out the door, out of the country. Okay. This is what they're trying to put together. And this is a scary thing, because this is why some people get arrested and then they don't get heard of or seen until they're out of the country or until they're on the other side of the country. Okay. The second question that I had to ask, are taxpayers, are we overpaying for these warehouses and purchases just to retrofit? When you look at the price tag attached to some of these warehouses, it's hard not to wonder if we're being, the prices are being overinflated. Like I said before in the beginning, I heard them paying $15 billion for a $2 billion building. Okay. Some of these buildings are being snapped up at around $100 million each, with retrofitting adding another $150 million on top of that per site. Installed everything from plumbing, electrical systems to secure housing units and recreational areas. Like in Maryland, DHS dropped. They spent $102 million on a massive 800,000 square foot warehouse. That's roughly the size of 14 football fields. And in New Hampshire, a retrofit in Merrimack is budgeted at 150 million plus 146 million for the first 3 years of operation. Okay. These are not bargain bin basements properties. These are industrial size space logistic hubs, and the urgency to get them operational by this year could be driving why these prices are so sky high without them even taking bids for these properties. They're not taking bids. They're just overpaying for these properties. Contractors are already warning that the timelines are too aggressive, too quick, which means extra cost is going to be spent on specialized material, shortcuts that have to get fixed later. They just trying to throw people into buildings. They don't give a damn how they get these people in these buildings. They just trying to throw people into them, and they don't care what they do to get them in there. Okay. And we understand that before we done had big federal projects where haste is a whole, where hasting trying to get the building leads to a bunch of waste and a bunch of excess. And there ain't no kind of audits, ain't nobody overseeing any of this. It's tough to say how much these figures are being padded, okay, out of this $38 billion. This is where our money is going. Now, you know, and I know, if your building is, cost 10 billion, but I come and offer you 15 billion, I'm just spending reckless money. I'm just spending any old kind of money for any old kind of money. Okay. And I ain't paying attention to what I'm spending my money on. But they don't care. They're planning to spend as much money as they can to get people where they want to get people. Hold on. Let me pull up this other article. Because I was reading all these articles and I was like, what the hell is going on? How the hell are these people? How are they just allowing them to spend our money to do what they want to do with our money? All 23 industrialized warehouse ICE wants to turn into detention death camps. 23. It's 23 being built right now. Okay. Most of these places cost $100 million with significant upgrades, retrofitting these warehouses to basically turn an empty shell of a building into a functioning detention center, because they want to be able to arrest you in Illinois, transfer you to Missouri, then transfer you from Missouri to Nebraska, to transfer you from Nebraska down to Texas, and then put you out the door. So they want to have almost a detention facility in every state. Okay. In every state. Okay. They want to turn these vacant buildings into a kind of functioning like a pipeline with kitchens, outdoor basketball courts, spending a whole bunch of money just to get people out of the country. Okay. Like for top example, $66 million purchase in San Antonio for a 640,000 square foot space that can hold 1,500 beds. The bottom line, these conversions involve bricking up loading docks, drilling through thick concrete slabs for plumbing, adding security features that weren't there before, all under pressure, which screams potential overpay. Of course, it's overpay. Of course. If this is how the money starts, who's really benefiting from this rollout? Okay. What the hell is going on? Okay. They really putting their money to it. They really putting our money to it. Okay. Who is making money from these detention expansions? That's another question. As $38 billion roll out, $38 billion, that's what the big beautiful bill gave them. Okay. There's not a lot that the government is going to keep. It's flowing straight into private companies that specialize in running detention facilities. And that's where the real profits, somebody getting stacked up with the real money. Major players like GEO Group, Core Civic are the ones landing these lucrative federal contracts, earning daily payments for every detainee they house. See, so they have an incentive to get people into these facilities. ICE has an incentive. These prisons have an, so you know, and I know, once they get these people into these prisons, they're not gonna get out. Okay, you know, we got to keep you at least 100 days or something. Okay, we got to keep you at least 100 days, so it can run between $100 and $200 per person, plus fees for construction, management, medical services. They don't just operate a facility, they lobby for policies that keep the beds filled, and stocks tend to jump when enforcement ramps up like this. They get money, and they getting the money, that $38 billion. That's why they keep going back to Congress every time you look around and asking Congress for more money for ICE. Okay. Because they got to pay all of these people to run these places, retrofit these places. Okay. The expansion is calling for 16 smaller processing centers and then 8 mega centers. That's billions in retrofitted work and ongoing operations going their way, all taxpayer funded. So when you get caught, like you're an immigrant, right? You get caught, you're going to go to the local facility, a local facility. Then they're going to be these mega hubs, the other hubs where you transition. I done caught you in Atlanta, but then outside Atlanta, there's a huge, in one of the smaller towns, there's a huge place out there. That's where you got to go. We caught you in Atlanta, then you're going to go to the huge place that's right outside Atlanta in one of these small towns like Macon or some shit, or Smyrna or whatever. And then that's where they're going to do all the processing and everything else. They're going to hurry up and get you away from where you were caught. And all within, I guess, 24, 48 hours, you on to a whole nother place. Okay. But the initial place that they catch you, that's not the one that's making the money. It's the mega hubs and the ones that you go to. Okay. So all of this is billions of dollars in retrofitted work, ongoing operations going their way, all taxpayer funded. It's a business model built on volume. The more people detained, the more money they make, and the critics argue that creates incentives to cut corners or care to boost the bottom line. Look, they ain't getting fed in these places now. They ain't getting fed. They don't have proper medical services. They don't have proper bedding. They don't have the proper services. You might not get your medicine. All kinds of crazy shit. All kinds of crazy shit, which is the scariest part, because we Americans are paying for that. And this is what this administration has done to a regular, average, everyday person that come out. Listen to this.
Quietly buying industrial warehouses around the country, reportedly with plans to turn them into a network of immigration detention and processing centers to hold tens of thousands of detainees. Our White House correspondent, Liz Landers, begins our coverage with a look into how the national and at times local controversy is playing out in one small Maryland community.
A national controversy lands on the agenda of a small Maryland city during an otherwise mundane weekly meeting. The Hagerstown City Council and mayor represent about 45,000 residents, but the broader community is bracing for the arrival of as many as 1,500 mostly undocumented migrants.
This huge warehouse right here was recently purchased by Immigration and Customs Enforcement as a detention facility. This is more than 800,000 square feet. And if it opens, it could be one of the largest detention facilities of its kind in the country.
During a couple of visits over a week, we saw anti-ICE vandalism, but no visible signs of ICE itself. We ran into Doris Kyle Shami and her husband Greg as we left the site.
The administration is ruining this country and is tearing apart communities that we need, and they're good people. This has got to stop.
Locally, the facility will be primarily regulated by the Washington County Board of Commissioners.
All in favor by saying aye. Aye.
Protesters interrupted their meeting earlier this month, shortly after the board unanimously agreed to a resolution welcoming ICE.
Nobody ever expected it to become a place of residence.
We listened last week as the city's utility director briefed the council on its limited but critical role governing the facility.
Our authority starts and stops with the water.
In the audience, community members on both sides of the national and now local debate.
I don't think it's a good thing for Hagerstown if we get that.
I think it's a great thing. Hagerstown needs as much help as it can get in increasing the income per person. Having this facility will do that with jobs.
This system of detention centers throughout the country.
Yeah, so they're going all around the country. We're seeing this happen all the way from all the way up in New Jersey, New Hampshire, all the way down to Orlando and Florida, all the way out west. They're trying to build places in Kansas and Oklahoma. This is all over the country. They're focusing on warehouses they can find a little bit outside of large towns. So we're finding these about 45 minutes to an hour outside of large city centers. And they're trying to fix these near logistics hubs where it's easy to move people in and out of the city. So we think that ICE officials have stated that their objective is to make the system of detention and deportation more efficient. And the current acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, has actually compared his aspiration to Amazon's system of moving packages. He said, we want to be able to move humans around the country as efficiently as Amazon ships packages.
What's the overall cost of this? How much is the Department of Homeland Security and ICE spending on this?
So they're projecting to spend $38 billion. That involves buying the warehouses. Many of them cost around $100 million. That involves significant upgrades and retrofitting these warehouses to basically turn what are empty, vacant shells of buildings into a kind of functioning detention center with housing units, recreation areas, kitchens, outside basketball courts. They want to kind of like build these out and spending a lot, up to $150 million for a single facility in some cases.
Many of these warehouses are currently just massive empty buildings. We saw this one in Hagerstown, and apparently there are only 4 toilets in this huge 800,000 square foot plus facility. What is the process going to look like for making these habitable for people?
Yeah, I mean, these places were built to hold goods and ship goods. They were not meant to hold human beings. So there's a pretty significant renovation process that has to go underway. And ICE wants it done really rapidly. So it's going to be a challenge. For one example, a lot of these are distribution centers built for a company like Amazon, where a lot of trucks would have been pulling up to these large bay doors. And so many of these facilities have dozens of bay doors around the perimeter of the building. That's not a very secure feature if you want a detention center to hold people who are not going to be able to escape. So one of the first things they might have to do is brick up all those bay doors. Another thing that a lot of these facilities have is going to be a challenge is that they are built on a thick concrete slab, which is going to make it extra hard to install plumbing and to install wiring and to install kind of the workings of a building that you're going to need when you're talking about holding thousands of people. So it's going to be a pretty complex job.
What's your reporting on the timeline that ICE has for this? How long is it going to take them to be able to convert these warehouses?
So it's really rapid. They want this whole system of up to 24 facilities to be up and running by the end of the year, essentially.
They want all of these facilities that are regular warehouses, they want them up and running by the end of this year. So the companies that are doing this is saying, wait a minute, hold up. We can't do that by the end of the year. That's going to take massive amount of manpower and money. In the end, the government is saying, we just gonna throw money at y'all and we want to get these people out of here instead of creating a place that it would be habitable. They don't care how they're putting these things up. Okay. So private companies, they're gonna be running these facilities. How does this speed affect the process? They're saying we can't do it, but we're going to have to cut corners if you want us to do it. Okay. These private companies ain't little bitty itty players in this detention expansion game. They're the ones who actually got the keys. They managing the day-to-day operations. They handling stuff from security guys to milk. And I get it. There's jobs that's going to be coming. I get all that too. Jobs for the facilities. It's just going to be like regular prison. They're going to be just like prisons. They're gonna need all of this employment. They're gonna need employees, guards, secretaries. They're gonna need all of those things. And I get it. That's how they're gonna say, well, you see how Donald Trump be talking about, oh, we got private sector jobs coming. This is what he mean by private sector jobs. Okay. It ain't the public that's gonna get us the jobs. It's going to be the private sector. This is what he means by private sector jobs. Okay. This is what they mean. And these private companies are going to be handling meals, guards over a period of years and years. Firms like GEO Group and Core Civic, they step in when ICE doesn't have the staff or the expertise. So they converting these warehouses into shells, these warehouses into livable spaces with beds, kitchens, medical areas, and the aggressive timeline. They charging a whole bunch of money. That's why they paying so much money for the building, because they want an aggressive timeline and they want this stuff done pronto. They want this stuff built specifically by the end of this year. Okay. This privatization keeps upfront costs down for the feds, but it's going to lead to long-term bills because companies build in profits through per detainee fees, add-ons for extras like transportation, healthcare. The downside is to maximize earnings, they got to cut corners. It just is what it is. And so the people are going to suffer. Fewer staff, cheaper food, delayed maintenance. You heard him right there. She said this building only got 4 toilets. I wouldn't be surprised. And they got to dig into concrete that's already been poured. They got to dig into concrete that's already been poured to make more bathrooms, to make kitchen services bigger, to make all kinds of things bigger. So do you think that they're going to worry about how many bathrooms they're going to deal for these people? What are they going to worry about? Where are their priorities going to be? These are going to be massive concentration camps. Massive. But it's $38 billion on the table, which includes $150 million in retrofits per site. $150 million retrofits per site. And these contractors who going to absorb much of it without any kind of oversight, without any kind of major oversight, we're going to be subsidizing a bunch of inefficiencies, or even worse. We don't even know. System going to rely on these private contractors heavily just to get this stuff done. Okay. And who going to watch over these people? Okay. Who going to do that? Another question I had was, why are these facilities placed in small communities instead of major cities? Right? The choice to put them in these small cities rather than big cities is not a random thing. It's a strategic move that prioritizes the cheap land, easy access to highways, airports for quick transportation. Wouldn't even bother me. I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me none how much they gonna depend on getting these people out. Okay. And these are less political hassle than crowded suburban areas. Okay. This is less headache for them. Take the social circle in Georgia, a tiny spot about 45 minutes east of Atlanta, where they plan for a mega center to hold up to 10,000 people. See, it's going to be 10,000 people first. Then the next place going to hold 70,000. Then the next place going to hold 150,000. And then you're going to be transported. You're going to be transported out the door at that 150 in large batches. You're going to be thrown out the door. Okay. And this 45 minute, this social circle in Georgia, 45 minutes outside of Atlanta, they got this mega center, hosts 10,000 people, and local people are mad. They mad because they don't want something like that in their backyard, because they don't want to have to deal with the strain on the sewer systems, the water systems, everything that comes with all of that. People escaping, people dying. They don't want none of that. These locations are like 45 minutes to an hour outside major cities. Okay, making it simpler to move people in and out without drawing a lot of protests, a lot of eyes, a lot of video. Okay, but it catches these quiet communities off guard because they got to be burdened with the troublesome infrastructure, the noise, the headache, the cars, the planes. They got to deal with all of that in these small towns. It might bring these small towns jobs. It might bring them jobs. It might bring all of those kind of things. But do you actually want Alcatraz? Do you want a detention facility in your backyard? Okay, but then they can buy cheaper property. This allows the government to buy without the real estate premium that they would have if they bought inside Atlanta. But people don't like you dumping this kind of stuff in the back of their house, in the back of their yard. Hold on. Let me do something else. Show you another video. Okay. What is this? Hold on. Let me show you this one. Here we go. Uno momento. Let me leave this.
What is the address to the emergency?
We're at Camp Montana East ICE Detention Facility. We currently have a detainee, actively suicidal, attempting to hurt himself.
The Associated Press obtained 130 911 calls involving the nation's largest immigration detention facility set up at Fort Bliss Army Base in Texas.
I have a patient here that's suicidal and homicidal.
This is a 27-year-old female. She's 12 weeks pregnant. She has extreme lower back pain and a headache. She's not eating. She's not drinking.
Along with interviews and court records, they offer a disturbing portrait of overcrowding, medical neglect, malnutrition, and emotional distress.
Every day felt like a week. Every week felt like a month. Every month felt like a year. You know, the torture, just, you know, the lack of sleep, the lack of food. Inhumane is my main word.
Owen Roman Ramsing spent nearly 5 months at Camp East Montana before he was deported to the Netherlands in February.
I lost everything. Everything.
They're getting substandard food. They're not getting the medical that they need. This place needs to be shut down, and it needs to be shut down immediately.
The Texas Democrat has called for an investigation into the contractors running the facility.
People should be moved by the abject cruelty, but if they're not, I hope they're moved by the fraud and corruption.
A Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said, quote, claims that there are subprime conditions at ICE facilities are false, adding that the detainees receive food, water, and medical treatment in a facility that is regularly cleaned. Ramsing was a legal permanent resident when he was detained last September, flying back into the country. Immigration authorities cited a drug conviction when he was 16, for which he had served prison time.
I had at least 60 notarized, what do you call those?
Character letters.
Character letters from very high-powered people, talking about, you know, attorneys, doctors, police officers. I'm a big part of the community of Columbia, Missouri.
During his time at Camp East Montana, a Cuban man died in early January of asphyxia after he was restrained following what ICE said was a suicide attempt. Ramsing says he overheard a guard say that there was a $500 bet over whether the next suicide would occur by a certain date.
And then I turned around and said, what the like, basically, you know, you're betting against me, like, basically, like, committing suicide? Every single one of us, with what we were dealing with inside there, it ran through all of our heads. You know, that the suicide is real.
DHS called his account false and said the facility provides mental health treatment and tries to prevent suicide attempts. Meantime, Ramsing is living with his father in the Netherlands, separated from his wife and 3 children, figuring out where and how to rebuild his life.
See, why are these horrendous conditions allegedly allowed to continue with people like this? I had to ask this one question. I keep hearing this administration say, we're arresting rapists, thieves, blah, 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 blah. When you all, and this is a question I really got, when you all arrest these people, do you separate the rapists and the killers and the thieves? Do you separate them from the regular people who don't have no record? Or do you put them in the same building as people who don't have no record? Because I wouldn't appreciate, if I was a person that needed to get dumped out of the country, I wouldn't appreciate you putting me in a cell full of people who killed somebody. I wouldn't appreciate you putting me in a cell with somebody who raped somebody. And that's the question that I have. Are you putting these people in cells where people did violent crimes? Okay, but if these conditions are as bad as the reports sound, open air toilets, detainees shackled to the bars, rampant assaults, okay, all of this stuff is allowed to persist. This is designed for speed and volume over consistent quality. And enforcement pushes, they outpace all the reform. They outpace any paperwork that you got. They just hitting the door. They just hitting buttons in there. And DHS, this was under Kristi Noem, maintaining that all these facilities are good, clean, getting meals, people eating. But there's a whole bunch of people that come out of those places saying that we can't talk to our family members, we can't talk to relatives, our lawyers. They just taking me down here and there. They're not even giving me a chance to talk to anybody, show some ID, prove that I'm a person. And they done had international investigations for this. People have died in these facilities, extortion in these facilities, rape in these facilities. I mean, I just ain't gonna appreciate you putting me into a place where I'm not really a criminal, and I never have been a criminal, except I crossed the border or I overstayed my visa, but I got to be in the room with somebody who murdered people, and y'all not making a distinction between me and him. Okay, that's why we had those people on the lawn doing those SOS calls. We had people showing the SOS that these people were standing on. I know you guys remember where we saw people standing outside and they were spelling out SOS because of the conditions in there. Why would they be doing that? Okay. And now that they have the contracts, now that they're acquiring, this is a plan. I don't know who came up with this plan, but it's almost ingenious to the point where you're concerned this much about immigration that you would do this. That Obama never did this. The Obama administration never did all this. They never took $38 billion and started opening up facilities, retrofitting buildings, trying to get people out of the country. And he done did more deportations than anybody. So why is it that this administration needs all of this money just to do something that Obama did? You could have did it at the same pace that Obama did. And steadily got people out of the country. You could have did it at the same pace. Why do we need to do it like this right now? Okay. Why do you need to do this right now? Okay. I don't know. It's something about it. Let me play this video.
In the immigration office, I was doing everything completely legally.
I came to the US legally 11 and a half years ago. I was granted asylum. Then I got a notice to appear in one of ICE's offices in June for what they called a routine check-in.
We went to Cancun for vacation with my family. When we came back, got on the plane, they pulled me aside. I didn't understand why.
They said, you need to reapply through the consulate and we need to send you back to Canada. And in my head, I thought that meant, okay, I'm just getting on a plane and going home.
I was never concerned. I had a green card. I traveled multiple times before out of the country.
I was sitting there looking for flights to go home and I was taken.
They were like, we have to detain you.
This is what actually happens to people once they enter the immigration system. Once somebody steps into the immigration detention system, it's a grinding process. It starts with intake at a processing center for fingerprinting, legal checks, short-term holding for 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days? 3 to 5 days before a possible transfer to a larger place, way far away from where you got picked up at, where they might be in those facilities for 60 days for deportation, flight, and court decisions. The detainees often, they describe being chained during moves and during cold and hot weather, lights, aluminum blankets, facing pregnancy tests, period mishandling, indignation, nakedness, stripped, struggling to get real food, sick, isolated from family. So hearings in immigration court decide those fates, right? Bond release, asylum grants. This is when that happens. When you get to that bigger hub. That smaller hub is not where it happens. This is a bigger hub. Or bans like 5-year reentry. See, once you get caught, you don't get to come back. You don't get to come back. It's a 5 or 10 year wait, which means you don't get to see your family unless they move with you for 5 to 10 years. Okay. And the appeals can drag on and on and on. So you never know what's going to happen to you once they grab you. But I do know if you voluntarily go, maybe you got a chance to come back. But if you don't voluntarily leave the country, it's going to be a 5 or 10 year wait before you can even come back. And maybe you're not even going to be able to come back.
I was under arrest.
With no explanation. It felt like I had been kidnapped.
You're kidnapping me.
They said they are detaining and deporting people who are here illegally and criminals.
I was never in the country illegally.
I did not come here illegally.
It was legal from day one.
You know, having a mother taken away from the kids, I felt like a knife was just like, it's like stabbing my heart.
I never expect this in America.
I was taken to the first detention center in chains.
When I got there, I was like, where am I? It looks like a prison.
They talk.
You see, I believe that is specifically what it is. What is it? Somebody said Nicholas A. Jump. It's performative. All of this is performative. They know that they're putting people in jail. They're doing this a whole dirtily. Obama deported more than they deported. And he ain't never had to build no facilities like this. This is wasting U.S. taxpayer money. Bullshit. You don't need $38 billion now. You don't need no more damn money. We don't need no more facilities built like this. We don't need none of that. Okay? They did it. They got them out of there. Biden got them out of there. Obama got them out of there. We don't need these facilities. They just taking our money and throwing it all over. They just throwing that shit all over and giving it to anybody who can hold people in facilities.
Us to the booking, we're asked to strip naked in front of each other.
There were 30 of us in one cell, just like a line of bunks, and then open showers and toilets.
And you're supposed to use this toilet in front of 12, 14 other people.
If I wanted to use the bathroom, I felt violated.
What did we do to be treated this way? That is inhumane.
I was treated like a criminal, like I killed somebody.
And every single time I asked a question, it was, I'm not your case officer. I don't know. I'm just doing my job.
They said, listen, I know every one of you will say, I left my kids at home with no one to take care of them. I don't care. You will say that you haven't eaten anything all day long. I don't care. You say that you're terrified, you are here unjustly. I don't care.
It was super cold.
Freezing.
They nicknamed them the ice boxes.
Don't think it's more than 30 degrees.
We're huddled, trying to stay warm, wrapped in these aluminum foils, looking like dead bodies.
There's no window that you can look outside.
I never was able to breathe fresh air.
Fluorescent lights are shining 24/7.
I couldn't sleep. We kept hearing rats squeak. Oh.
One of the girls had her period and there was blood everywhere.
They knew I was a menstrual cycle, but it was not offered to shower for 5 days.
This nurse comes in and she's like, pregnancy test. She made us pee in front of each other into these Dixie cups. We're all just standing there in a circle, holding our open urine.
I don't understand why humiliation and degradation is a part of this. If I overstayed my visa and I am a tax-paying person, a person working every day, a person doing what I have to do, but I overstayed my visa, do I deserve to be humiliated and denigrated like this? Why are they doing this to the people? Because most of these people are regular, ordinary citizens who overstayed their welcome, whoever did whatever they did to become an immigrant in this country. But they don't deserve this, okay? And they're not making the distinction between regular, real criminals and just regular, ordinary people who overstayed their visa.
And she's plopping these pregnancy tests in and then being like, okay, you guys are going to check it back in the toilet.
The food was horrible.
It was disgusting.
I ended up getting very sick.
I lost a lot of my weight, 20 pounds.
My body was really starting to shut down. I felt like, oh my goodness, am I gonna die here?
I worked as a journalist in Egypt and I was persecuted and detained and tortured. My experience at the Butler County Jail was more traumatizing than my detention in Egypt.
I got woken up in the middle of the night and they're like, Jasmine, you're leaving. I jumped up. I'm like, I'm going home. And they're like, we're being transferred.
She said, we're going to transfer you to Maine. I was like, Maine?
You're going to Arizona. I'm like, why am I going to Arizona? I begged every single guard for help. Can you please tell anyone, your supervisor, that I would love to pay for my flight home? Just get me out of here. ICE issued a statement saying I was detained for not having legal documentation to be in the US. I do not support anyone being in a country illegally. I had all my paperwork. I was in the immigration office. I was never in the country illegally.
Since a green card is a privilege, not a right, and under our nation laws, our government has the authority to revoke a green card if a law is broken and abused. In my early 20s, I was young. I was in college. I got in trouble for possession of marijuana. I was pardoned. It was dismissed. It's been years, and I have renewed my green card twice. Never had an issue with immigration.
USCIS obtained evidence that indicated you provided material support to a Tier 3 terrorist organization. I volunteered with a nonprofit that took care of orphans and poor and sick people in Egypt. So basically, they tried to link this nonprofit, which is the most reputable, respected nonprofit, to a Tier 3 undesignated terrorist organization. This is how they framed it.
I don't feel like this was a mistake. I feel like this was on purpose.
That is not a rare case. This is systematic.
They are just grabbing anyone that they can.
They're trying to find ways to deport as many people, even if these people were here legally.
Not knowing what's going to happen to me, I feel like that was the worst. Because I wanted just to call my husband. I wanted to hear my kids, and my kids are okay, During the time that I was there, it was also my daughter's birthday.
See, I asked the question earlier, or I posed the question earlier. What happens to the serious prisoners that get mixed up in there? That's one of the most unsettling aspects of this immigration detention. How they can end up housing serious criminally minded people with these regular people who had these small infractions. Okay, I get weed, I get all of that. Okay, maybe they try to separate them, maybe they do, but they're overcrowding. These places are overcrowded. So some of those people end up with people who have bad records. It's not a criminal prison. That's the whole point. This is not a criminal prison. It's a civil detention for folks awaiting hearings on things like visas and overstaying, asylum claims, deportation after serving time for past offenses, whatever. But the population being mixed with nonviolent and violent cases, you're going to run into violent people apparently because there's mix-ups. Okay, and they use a classification system. They do level 1, level 2, level 3, level 3, little or no record. Level 1 got violent history. Okay, which is in theory, which is good thing in theory, but you can't always watch people. Okay, these are packed facilities. Separations aren't foolproof, so there's danger everywhere in these places. And she just smoked weed when she was 20 years old. And she looked like she 35, 40, them many years, and the only thing she did was smoke weed, but now you got her in there with killers? Come on.
I feel like they took that away from me. I was scared they were going to forget me.
I was put on solitary confinement for 6 days for advocating for myself and the other Muslim inmates to have a quiet space to pray. That's when my mental health started to deteriorate too fast. It's just a matter of time. I'll get deported and get killed in Egypt. That was the thing that I couldn't get out of my mind. I'll just get deported and get killed.
I had a medical check and I had to go visit this nurse. She could tell that I was distraught and confused. And she looked at me and she goes, "Can I pray for you?" And she said this beautiful prayer in Spanish that I have no idea what she was saying. And I just cried and I cried and I cried, and she just held my hands and I was like, okay, I'm going to get through this.
An officer called and said, "Pack your stuff."
Where am I going? Just pack your stuff.
I was transferred back to the San Diego prison.
It was a 2-hour drive.
Someone just grabbed me and said, "You're coming with me this way."
She's like, "Yeah, uncomfort. She's being released today." My eyes just what?
Said, "You are released." I actually forget what the word released mean in English. To be honest, what do you mean by you're released? I was in a shock.
They stripped the chains off of me quickly, snuck me into the airport, escort me onto the plane, sit me down, and they're like, Okay, you're free. You can use your cell phone now. Take care.
And they're kind of like outside, and I did not know where to go. I didn't have a phone.
An officer said, "We just got this letter today. The Department of Homeland Security reinstated your asylum status." It was the happiest moment of my entire life.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So the first thing we did was to drive to the mosque. Then we went out to eat in a Palestinian restaurant. I ate a lot.
I was happy to see my husband. I was more happy to see my girls. No offense. The youngest one was having nightmare, kept waking up. So I knew they needed me, and just kind of reassure them I'm okay, even though it's still hard for me. It's still fragile.
I am a different person than the person that got detained. I lost my job that I love. I lost my health insurance. Was not able to finish my degree, all because I got detained for 73 days.
I was so lucky to have only been in there for 2 weeks. Can you imagine someone in the system that doesn't have my privilege, all the lawyers, all the money, all my connections? Majority of the women that I met have been in there for months. I received a 5-year ban from America. Everyone asked me, they're like, well, you're never gonna go back, are you? I'm appealing. I wanna go back. I love America.
I am in the process now of getting my citizenship.
I still love the American people, but I'm doubting if I ever feel safe and call the United States my home. I don't think this government will stop.
Your government is funding a system that doesn't follow any rules.
Immigrants will be the first target. After that, they will target any opposition. Violating due process this time means they will violate it again and again and again.
So who oversees? Okay. So who oversees these detention facilities? I mean, it's a layered process as to who does it, but I think it's the Department of Homeland Security for day-to-day checks. Okay, ICE has its own internal inspections to ensure standards like food and medical access are met, but the DHS office is stepping in for deeper probes about these complaints that people have. So Congress is starting to ramp up their oversight, but Congress sometimes goes and visit these facilities and they have problems getting in because they know the conditions are so terrible. The conditions are so terrible that Congress people have to petition days in advance sometime in order to get in to see certain people, to do what needs to be done for the oversight, because they have oversight. They should be able to come in and see and watch and find out what's going on, but they don't want these people to see what's going on. Okay, so they're building all these big gigantic facilities. So I asked the question, if this detention infrastructure is built, all these are built, will it become a permanent thing in the United States? If this network of buildings is retrofitted warehouses get built, I mean, it's every reason to believe that it's going to be a permanent fixture in the American immigration landscape, of course, outlasting this administration into another administration. It's it's detention camps. That's what it is, okay? This is concrete with beds, housing, kitchens, toilets, okay? And dismantling something like this would be massively expensive. These are not temporary tents like they had in Alligator Alcatraz out there in Florida. These are converted industrial giant buildings designed for use, and they're going to retrofit them for decades to potentially hold 100,000 people at their peak. So they're going to set a precedent for how law enforcement operates. So this is going to be, we're going to have more prisons in here, 23 more. They're in the process of retrofitting 23 more right now. Future presidents, regardless of whether they're Democrat or Republican, would inherit this ready-made system, okay, which could be expanded further if they wanted to. But tearing it down is rarely going to happen. They rarely tear down federal infrastructures, right? So it's going to be some kind of centralized high capacity model that prioritizes detention facilities. And this is how it's going to go. Once they build these, they're not going to get torn down. It is what it is. So that's the $38,000 billion puzzle that they asked for in the big, beautiful bill. This is what they cut off Medicaid for. This is what they cut off food stamps for. This is what they cut off the medical for the elderly, food stamps for the sick. This is what they cut it off for, this money right here. Okay? Even though Democrats push back on, this is why we can't have health care. Part of the reason why we can't have health care. Part of the reason why we can't have health care is we got wars going on as well. Okay? Who's going to oversee all of this money? No matter where you stand on immigration, this expansion forces us all to ask, what the hell does America want? Are we really going to be a nation where we're going to prioritize this kind of stuff? And I get it. A lot of y'all believe, the immigrants are the problem. Immigrants ain't the problem. Your life is shitty. Your life is shitty because your life is shitty. It has nothing to do with the immigrants. That's the problem. You think it's the immigrants, but it's not. Okay, so this is where we at. The big, beautiful bill put us right here. The minute that big, beautiful bill got passed is when we went in a different direction in this country. Now we at war. We in an even worse condition. Now that gas is going sky high, now that food is going up, now that things are becoming more expensive, are people ready to admit that we're going down the wrong track? Are we ready to admit that? Is anybody ready to admit that we hit the wrong button? Because I'm ready to admit we need to change the direction we're going. This is ridiculous. We can't have health care. Our gas is sky high. Our gas is about to be sky high because we're in a war. Food is about to be sky high. We in stagflation. We in that stagflation mode. If y'all don't know what stagflation is, go look it up. We in stagflation mode. We got negative job growth. What was it, 92,000 or 52,000? 92,000 or 52,000 jobs lost. Not gained, lost. Tariffs fucked us for real. Are we ready to say uncle yet? Because I'm ready to say uncle. I don't know about nobody else. I'm ready to say uncle. The people that understand where the direction that we're going are ready to say uncle. Do we really want all these detention facilities in our backyard? Obama didn't need all these detention facilities. Biden didn't need all these detention facilities. Why do we need all these detention facilities now? There's no way you're going to get all these 15 million people, 14 million people out of this country like you want to get them out of this country. You just ain't going to be able to do it. Okay? And instead of saying, let me get the people that are already on the path to citizenship, let me get them out of the way so we can get rid of the bad ones, they're not saying that. They're just grabbing anybody. Okay? I'm just saying we're on the wrong path here. And it is what it is. So hopefully you guys hit the like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate all of y'all. Put the comments in the comment section, please, and thank you. After the video, let me know if you like the video. Don't come here and don't let it happen. Are you serious? There's a lot of people who overstayed their visa. They didn't jump the border. Y'all make it sound. See, half y'all think they done came across the Rio Grande and shit. These people came here to work, working, regular, decent, ordinary people, and they just happen to overstay their visa. Regular, ordinary, individual people. Y'all goofy. All these people didn't wade through no damn water trying to get through Mexico. A lot of these people came through Canada. A lot of people came on planes, got off the airport, and never went back. What the hell wrong with y'all? That's wild to me. But y'all hit the like, share, and subscribe button. We got content like this every day. And HQ will be back. HQ will be back. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. And you know I do. You know I do. It sucks. It sucks. But Obama and Biden managed to do it without spending $38 billion. Okay? That's the way I look at it. They managed to do it without spending all that money. So why did we have to pull that money out of our economy and then we all going down the tubes because of it? Y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of y'all. I appreciate all